Hello, everyone. I know we just have some people coming in, so I'll just kick us off in just a moment. Welcome. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Madeline, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. For those of you that are familiar with DreamBank, welcome back. And for those of you that this is your first time joining us, welcome. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series, and to immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Our always free offerings are designed to help you overcome obstacles and stay motivated. Now, I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker. Dr. Shilagh Mirgain is a distinguished psychiatrist in the Department of Orthopedics and Rehabilitation, University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health. Dr. Mirgain is a frequent contributor at CBS 3 News, Madison, and Wisconsin Public Radio, speaking on health, wellness, peak performance, and often called on to represent UW in the media. She writes and speaks on mind-body skills to foster optimal health. In her practice, Dr. Mirgain uses both individual and group formats to treat patients with a variety of medical conditions and adjustment issues. She is also a sports psychologist who works with UW Badger athletes, teens, adults, and professional athletes. Take it away, Shilagh.
Thank you so much, Maddie, and thanks to DreamBank. And welcome. Whether you're here today watching this live or you're watching the replay, I'm so happy to have you here. And the winter is upon us. And I think it's really timely to talk about how to thrive during this winter and build something I call a winter well-being toolkit. So you're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat and even share one reason why you showed up today. And I live in Wisconsin, where American Family Insurance and DreamBank is located. And we have had some grayer days. Today's actually a little bit sunnier, but as the kind of colder, grayer days are arriving, I've been thinking a lot about this topic of how do I really safeguard my mental health and promote my well-being during these winter months. So, let's talk about what we're going to focus on today. We are going to explore some of the common challenges of winter wellness. And wherever you live in the country or the world, winter can be a challenging time for many people. We're also going to spend some time understanding the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, which is a form of clinical depression. Many people can be prone to seasonal affective disorder, or a lesser version, which is often referred to as the winter blues. And then we're going to get to the heart of the presentation, which is building your own winter wellness toolkit so you can stay resilient and cultivate positivity to thrive this winter. So as we begin, I want you to take just a few moments to think about winter time and what characteristics do you associate with well-being during the winter? You can think about maybe in your own life times when you thrive during winter. What were the qualities or characteristics or common themes that emerged, that occurred during that winter for you? And you can think about maybe even people in your own life who seem to do pretty well during the winter months, who love winter, really embrace that time, or seem to stay happy and upbeat and positive and motivated. And what are some of the indicators that they're having well-being? And feel free to share in the chat too. I see Angela cozy, leaning into it by getting cozy rather than complaining. Excellent. I love that. And that's actually one of the themes we're going to talk about. Thank you. And people are welcome to share in the chat as you reflect on those characteristics you associate with winter well-being. And let's think about the flip side. What are some of the challenges of winter wellness? Like, what gets in the way? What are some of those things that are just tough, especially if you live in a northern climate where it does get colder? You get a lot of snow or ice, and there's a lot of dark gray days. So think about what are some of the challenges in general and in your own life What gets tough? And we're also at a time during the holidays where those can be very challenging as well. The holidays, sometimes we just don't feel that cheer during this time of year, and we can feel a bit isolated or overwhelmed or frustrated, or maybe you're going through a loss, or there's some financial challenges that can make this time in this winter especially hard. So just there's so much compassion for you, if you're going through something like that, and know that you're not alone. So let's look at some of the common challenges of winter wellness. Driving, right? Winter driving. My car slid for the first time the other day because there was some ice. And I thought, oh, here we go, right? And maybe you have a commute home after work, or just something as simple as running errands when it's icy or snowy can be hard. Or maybe you don't have snow where you live, but this time of year, there's just a lot of traffic, holiday shopping. And as a result, it just takes you longer to get from one part of the place to another. For those in snow-filled climates, snow removal, right? You have to maybe plow before you have to go to work, and you're also trying to get kids ready. Or maybe there's that blizzard, and it can be quite taxing to do snow removal. And regardless of where you live, oftentimes winter is associated with colder, grayer days. And that is especially hard when we don't see the sunshine. I remember maybe it was last year or the year before here in Wisconsin, people were counting how many gray days there were in a row. There were like 21 sequential, consecutive gray days. And that is really hard. It can impact our mood. And many people find during the winter that you just become more sedentary, kind of like a bear that's hibernating. We have this animal body, this mammalian body that kind of wants to do less, turn inwards, stay home, get under the covers, get cozy, as Angela was saying. And as a result, we can feel like we don't have the motivation to get things done. So I love this cartoon of two snowmen. And the one snowman says, "Looks like you put on a little weight over the holidays." The other snowman says, "Yeah, but it's mostly water." So, and feel free to share in the chat, or you just even reflect for yourself again. What are some of those challenges for yourself? And I think one of the things as a clinical psychologist that I see is that people are really vulnerable, especially in northern climates, to the winter blues or depression. We can find that our mood is just lower. Maybe we don't have as much motivation, or maybe we're just not enjoying things as much as usual. And for some people, they say on average between 3 to 5% of the population will actually experience symptoms of seasonal affective disorder. Seasonal affective disorder is a subtype of clinical depression. It occurs seasonally, typically during the winter months, and it's associated with these symptoms. So just kind of check in with yourself right now, or maybe in years past. Have you experienced seasonal affective disorder? People, again, in those northern climates are more vulnerable, but it can occur anywhere. And what we're looking again is during the winter months, do you experience feeling down most of the day, nearly every day for at least 2 weeks? Or maybe you experience a loss of interest or pleasure in activities that you typically enjoy. Or maybe there's just some concentration difficulties. It's hard to focus. Or maybe you just feel fatigued and there's lower energy or motivation. Or maybe there's sleep or appetite disturbance or change, like you're eating too much, sleeping too much, or eating too little, or sleeping too little. And again, we're looking for the prevalence of these symptoms, that they're occurring most of the day, nearly every day for at least 2 weeks. And they're potentially also causing impairment in functioning or quality of life, or causing considerable distress. And if you are, I really encourage you to talk with a physician about treatments. And we'll talk about a few of those treatments here, but we won't go into all of them, such as medication management. But certainly reach out to your healthcare provider, your PCP, to talk about them and see what treatment would be appropriate. As I said, many other people have a lesser version of this called the winter blues, that might have some of these symptoms, but they're not as intense in severity or prevalence, or not causing as much impairment. So again, you can think about even this coming up with the holidays, with the winter, any challenges you can anticipate that might impact mood or well-being. What are some of those unique things that you're having to deal with that can be hard? So we're going to now transition to creating your winter toolkit. That how during this time of year, how can you thrive and not just survive? Kind of like the snowman, instead of kind of being sad and melting, the snowman's embracing the winter with a smile. So the first thing I want to talk about in our toolkit is the importance of light and dark. There's a lot of dark, right, during this time of year, those colder, grayer days, but the importance of light. So in particular, when we think about really regulating our biochemistry and our circadian rhythms, light is really important. Light allows us to produce serotonin in the day, and dark allows us to produce melatonin, which contributes to good sleep. And in order to have a good sleep-wake cycle, and when we're thinking about having that winter well-being toolkit, it's really important that we give our body that kind of rest and recharge that it needs. Again, we have this animal body, like that bear in a cave, and we need good quality rest. And this, I think, is really fascinating, that if we think about in the evening, especially around 8-ish at night or so, depending on when you go to sleep, an hour or two before bedtime, starting to dim down the lights. And what happens then? That allows our body, the pineal gland, to start producing melatonin. And then the opposite, in the morning when we wake up, like let's say we go to bed around 10, so we start to dim down the lights in our house, and then around 7 we wake up. It's really important to have exposure to light. So that means opening the shades. You might get out if it's a sunny day and have that exposure, sit by the window. So you're getting that exposure to light when you first wake up, and also having it dim in the house in the evening. And again, we want melatonin is one of the critical ingredients to having a healthy sleep-wake cycle. And when we think about having that good sleep-wake cycle, it's attributed to having sleep in darkness for around 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And one of the ways we can do this is by removing lights around the bed. That could be our cell phone, not having it right by our head. It could be radios, or having multiple electric plugs right there, because that's kind of some of that light. Also working on having that healthy weight too. If we've gained a lot of weight, that can lower melatonin. Also encouraging you to eat foods rich in melatonin, like tomatoes, rice, oranges, apples, bananas, cherries, cucumber, cabbage, almonds, walnuts, and seeds like sunflower, mustard seeds, or mustard or fennel. You might consider a zinc supplement, or vitamin B vitamins like B6 and folic acid are some natural ways to boost melatonin. So we're talking about, again, having dark at night, accessing light in the morning, and maybe also really incorporating these melatonin-rich foods. You might, if you're again struggling with the winter blues or seasonal affective disorder, consider light therapy. And this is, again, you'd want to talk to your doctor about it because it's not right for everyone. But this is, you can see an image of an actual light therapy device. And this is a specific light where the dosage of light is between 2,500 and 10,000 lux of light. And I actually have one that I have right in my desk here at home that I'll sit in front of when I start the day doing paperwork. And the recommendation is to sit in front of it for 20 minutes in the morning. And the light box should be within 3 feet of you, but this is really important. you should not look directly into the light. You want to look elsewhere, like maybe you're reading the paper, or reading a book, or you're doing some email and the light's there in the background. And that again should be done right in the morning to help regulate that wake sleep cycle and light and darkness. And this has been found to be a really effective treatment for winter depression. So that's kind of the first area we're talking about. The second area is to exercise outdoors, especially on a sunny day, because the sunlight, we want to take that in. And again, we're really looking at trying to move our body. Again, it can be very helpful treatment for depression. It also can be just great to connect with the natural environment and get everything moving in our system. So think about, and I'm wondering if anyone here does exercise. I know when I first moved to Wisconsin from California, I struggled the first winter. It was rough. And then I took up cross-country skiing, and that really shifted things for me to have to have that winter sport. And it really brought in just a lot of joy, and also some socialization too. So I think that was pretty awesome. All right, so we're gonna also think about the third aspect of our winter toolkit is to be in the moment. Oftentimes when we're dealing with a winter stress, like, we're stuck in traffic and we're frustrated, or a snowstorm's coming and we have to deal with it. That can be really hard, and our mind can get really negative, and our mind might be stuck in worries about the future forecasting, or rumination about the past. So being in the moment and practicing mindfulness. Research shows regular mindfulness practice can help a lot of things, including stress management. It can help when dealing with depression. It helps reduce anxiety and improve attention and focus. And there are a lot of medical benefits, such as helping lower blood pressure, strengthening immune response, reducing inflammation, and boosting working memory. And some research that was done here at the University of Wisconsin, and also Promega, which is a biotech company in town. They had two groups of employees. Half the group went through an 8-week mindfulness course. And the research is really powerful. They found that after the 8 weeks of meditation, of doing meditation daily, people had more vigor, optimism, enthusiasm, and buoyancy, and actually responded better to the flu vaccine, right? All of great things that we want during the winter months. We want more vigor and enthusiasm and optimism. People also had less distressing emotions, less anger, fear, anxiety, and depression. And I love this. I love this study. This is a meta-analysis of, or a review of 4 different studies where people had different approaches to mindfulness meditation. And what they looked at, so 4 studies, they did different forms of meditation. At the end of the study, something really interesting happened. They found that people actually had longer telomeres. Telomeres are on the end of our chromosomes, and they indicate the length of our life. So as we age, our telomeres shrink. And this study found that the 4 different studies that looked at meditation, all of them, after leading 190 people, the collective 4 studies through meditation, at the end of it, their telomeres were longer, suggesting they had lengthened their life and made them less likely to have chronic illness. Fascinating, right? Fascinating. It can go all the way down to our DNA, the effects. So we're going to do a brief mindfulness practice. And I'd like you to just think about being in the present moment by focusing on sound. And I'm not sure if this will actually go through. I have a little chime here. I'm going to click share sound. So we'll see if that goes through. Maybe somebody can do a thumbs up or something if it is. And if not, I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds to just focus on sound in the moment. And when we're working with mindfulness, we're really practicing being in the moment, here and now, on purpose, being with what is, non-judgmentally, like with like a beginner's mind, as if you're seeing something, hearing something, experiencing something like the eyes of a child who's noticing it for the first time. And so this being with sound through mindful awareness means being in the moment, non-judgmentally with beginner's mind, without grasping aspects, wishing they were linger, avoiding things, wishing they would go away. So we're really working with this concept of impermanence that can be helpful during the winter, with the storm, with the stress, knowing, yeah, this is a hard moment, but it'll pass. So with this, I'd like you to listen to sounds in your environment, and hopefully this chime will ring too. If not, no worries. You can just listen to the sounds, including my voice, and just listen to the sounds as they rise and fall. And if you hear the bell, until it no longer exists. Okay, here we go. Bringing that present moment awareness to sound. Okay. Another, yeah, great. And I see that bell came through, which I'm thrilled. Yeah, so we're going to do one more practice here, and then you're welcome to type in the chat what you noticed with mindfulness of sound, or this practice, the 3 Ps, I use a lot. If I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed and I just want to return to the moment, in the moment. The 3 Ps are pause, presence, and proceed. So we can really pay attention to what really matters. This is a great practice during the holidays. Maybe you're overwhelmed with the hustle and bustle and feeling frazzled and in a daze by the holidays. And this allows us to really pay attention to what matters, the true meaning of the season. And I think can also be helpful as we approach the new year in these winter months, where there's kind of the hope of the new year that can help us kind of get back to ourselves and what's important. So the 3 Ps, and we're going to practice it now, is to pause, presence, and proceed. So let's just practice it. The first thing I'd like you to do is just pause. Just stop what you're doing here and now. Just notice, where's your mind? The second P is presence. Bring your attention into this moment and breathe deeply. What is this situation asking of you? Take a deep breath, feeling yourself, feeling this moment. What is the situation asking of you? And then proceed. Think about proceeding on with your day, using mindful speech, action, positive intention. Be gentle with yourself. I use this a lot, for example, when I'm transitioning from work to home, when I'm starting my car. As I'm about to start it, I'll pause. I'll take a moment to take a breath, to presence, and then I proceed home with my drive home, or if I'm arriving home, try to leave work so I can be fully present with my family. So think about using the 3 Ps. So we did the mindfulness of sound. We did the 3 Ps as a way to bring mindfulness. And we know research shows, as we saw, when we can be mindful, it helps us deal with stress, those distressing emotions, and also really helps us thrive during this time because it highlights what matters most so we can take action there. So winter well-being toolkit definitely would be lacking if it didn't have some aspects of self-care. This is a time of year to turn up the volume on self-care. Let's talk about some key things that can be useful. Take maybe a media fast. Take a break from negative information. Give yourself, maybe it's thinking about, gosh, I'm going to take a break from social media for a while, or I'm not going to be just glued to the nightly news, or I'm going to not do doom scrolling on my phone where I'm just looking at negative article, negative article, negative article. Because we know if we're constantly exposing ourselves to negative information, images, and that can maintain our stress at unhealthy levels. And there's just a lot of suffering in the world. And so making sure you're consuming it in a healthy dosage. Also, keeping your mind in check, paying attention that your mind's not getting trapped into negative thinking or rumination, rehashing past events or future forecasting. And again, thinking about what thoughts can be helpful for you to promote peace of mind. You can have these patterns of thinking, these habits of mind. And with mindfulness, even, it can help us notice our thoughts just as thoughts passing by. Our mind is a thought generating machine, but not every thought we think is helpful. To choose a different kind of thought, maybe a more helpful coping thought, more realistic thought, more supportive thought, more kind thought. So we talked a lot about sleep, but also think about what helps you rest and recharge that isn't sleep. And think about carving out 15 to 30 minutes to do something that feels like a rest and recharge. Maybe it's calling a friend or taking a short walk or watching a funny show, listening to meditation. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's doing some artwork. Maybe it's working on a hobby like woodworking. What helps you kind of recharge that battery? One of my favorite practices during this time of year is a snowman meditation. This is a great one to help facilitate sleep, or if you wake up in the middle of the night, can help you return to sleep. This is a fun one to go through with your children too. So I don't know about you, but I love making snowmen, and this is such a fun time of year to see various snowmen, inflatable images pop up in the neighborhood. But like all snowmen and snow women, when the warmth comes, they start to melt. And so you might imagine yourself like the cutest snowman out there, snow woman, and imagining the warmth of the sun starting to permeate and seep into your body, helping release any unnecessary tension from the top of the head all the way down to the tips of the toes. And when we do this, especially at bedtime, we might notice, gosh, I have these pockets of tension. I have these patterns of holding that are stress related, that aren't really serving me. Many people find that they have a lot of tension in their jaw, or maybe a lot of tension in their shoulders. And imagining like that snow person with the warmth of the sun, just allowing some releasing and letting go. And this can help cultivate a sense of peace, calm in the mind, calm in the body, that can really help us get that good quality sleep that we need. So this time of year, there are a lot of holiday treats and sweets. So it can be really important to make sure we're eating nutritious food as much as we can. This time of year in particular, vitamin D3 is really essential, especially if you live in a more northern climate where the sun's rays aren't strong enough to help our body produce vitamin D3 naturally. So you might think about vitamin D supplementation. Again, you want to talk with your physician about that to see if that's right for you. Some natural forms of vitamin D3, cheese and eggs, fish and mushrooms. And just being outside in the sunlight. Again, I recommended exercise outside, especially when it's sunny. So getting out there and having some skin exposure, like maybe if it's warm enough, you don't wear gloves or have your face exposed. So you're getting some of that sunlight in that helps your body produce vitamin D3 naturally. So I love that Angela talked about cozy. Because in Scandinavian countries, they have this wonderful term that in the US we've adopted, hagi, probably mispronouncing it, but there's the spelling on the slide. And that is the sense of coziness in the house. In Holland, they have a term called gezellig that's somewhat similar. that is about really having these moments where all feels right in the world. And I think wintertime, as we turn more inward and can reflect more, it's an opportunity to really, really savor the sweetness of the darker, quieter, colder months. So maybe you get some candles you're lighting, or maybe there's aromatherapy. I just purchased some spices you can have on the stove and water that make a nice aroma for your home. Maybe you enjoy holiday music or have a special tradition you look forward to this time of year. And I think when this kind of term of coziness, it's coziness in our environment, but also coziness internally. It can be a state of mind too. So one of the ways we can, there might be some environmental things we bring in, or maybe things we reduce, like clutter. But then when we think about some of the kind of state of mind, I think about some really important things, which is savoring the positive. So at the end of this year, one of my favorite practices is to do a year-end review. And it can be a great opportunity to notice and appreciate things you've been taking for granted. I think it's also really important when we're doing this to keep that attitude of gratitude this winter. So you might do some journaling to end of the year review. You might list some things you're grateful for each day, like 3 things you're grateful for each day. And as we're thinking about this year-end review, or even New Year's review, it can be a great thing to start in the new year. You might even reflect on, if these things were taken from me, like how much I might miss them. And when we're journaling about it, it allows us to really soak it in, to savor it. And from neuroscience, they say it takes about 12 to 15 seconds for something positive to get fully embedded in our memory. So journaling about it can be a way to linger and reflect and savor. So it gets firmly embedded in our brain. The negative stuff instantaneously gets embedded. The positive, we actually have to practice taking in the good. So doing some journaling. Or if you're not a journaler, you could even just start a conversation with a friend talking about the new and good, or the things you're feeling grateful for this time of year. And even verbalizing it with another person can get you to that 10 to 15 seconds to internalize it. All right. And personal development. This is a powerful intervention that's accessible to everyone and can be free. So when we think about our winter well-being toolkit, it is a great time of year, especially as we approach the new year, to think about, okay, what is something I want to work on just for me? And it could be learning something, or maybe some education, or doing some creative hobby, or maybe you want to do more service and volunteering. Maybe you want to really cultivate and foster a sense of hope and optimism and spread it to others. And this Dream Big series can, maybe you want to tune in each week. I love that. I would encourage you to really keep getting support to achieve your dreams and goals. And it's so important to stay connected to family and friends this winter. Social support, if we think about, we might even work on some of those personal goals with friends. It helps build empowerment and happiness, and staying connected socially helps build emotional resilience, where you're supporting one another. It's really common in the winter, because we're often stuck home more, to get isolated. And so really paying attention to reaching out for support is important. And then lastly, just have some fun at home. Maybe you're doing a board game. Maybe you're trying something new, like a new recipe, or maybe you're bringing in something fun that the whole family or yourself can enjoy. I think there's nothing like a little laughter, a little humor, or even watching a funny show that helps lighten up some of the darkness of these days. So think about something fun that you can do. So those are some of the key aspects of what I use in my winter well-being toolkit that I hope you can incorporate. And as we start to wrap up here, I want you to think about maybe setting a goal. What is one positive change or action step that you can take to strengthen your winter toolkit. Like maybe you're going to go sledding here, like this wonderful image. What is one positive change or action step that you can take to strengthen your winter well-being toolkit? And feel free to type that in the chat or share with somebody later today, or you might even take one of the things we talked about today and pay it forward by sharing that tip or strategy with somebody else. So yeah, just one thing you're going to commit to. Wonderful. Well, I very much appreciate all of you being here. It's such an honor to partner with DreamBank and the Dream Big series. And I have a professional Facebook page, Dr. Shilagh Mirgain. You're welcome to follow. And here's my email, and you're welcome to reach out to me and let me know how your own winter well-being toolkit is going, things you've added, and even some experiences or successes that you've had. Thank you, Maddie, and I'll turn it back over to you for some closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Shilagh. I know I had a few notes. I actually have a little at home, and so even just the idea of doing hobbies again, taking care of him has kind of become my full-time hobby. But it was a nice reminder, like what can I do, even if it's just doing it once a week or twice a week, just to kind of help counteract some of my winter blues. And then also just dimming the lights naturally. I get to do my a feeding right before bed, and it's completely dark with the sound machine on in his room, and I am wired before I walk in there, but after my 30-minute feed, I'm like eyes heavy. So I can attest to that. Like I just then crawl into bed and sleep so soundly until he inevitably wakes up by calling out for me. But that just kind of made me chuckle. I was like, I can attest to that. Dimming the lights 30 minutes, if not even a little more before bed, really does do the trick. But maybe throw in a sound machine. It's soothing. But thank you so much. And I will be kind of my to do is I'm going to start trying to write at least 30 minutes twice a week, starting small. But that is how I'm going to kind of fight the winter blues, specifically after the holiday season. But thank you so much for sharing. It is always a really great reminder, and a reminder that we have a little more control than we think. And so I might not be able to change the weather, but I definitely have control over how I spend my time, even if it's just 30 minutes here and there, an hour of a week. I really appreciate this, and I hope everyone is walking away with a little bit of feeling of empowerment. And until next time, friends. Bye.